And I see him writing on a piece of paper. And then he hands the piece of paper to me. And on that piece of paper, he identified 2 conditions. And that was the moment the room stopped and all the breath exited my lungs. I know, I swear, if I see another pink ribbon, I think I'm going to lose it. So today is October 1st, and it is the first day in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is also significant because today is my birthday, and it's a landmark birthday for me because the truth is, I didn't think I would actually be here to celebrate it. And that's because earlier this year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Yes, a seemingly healthy 37-year-old, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And not just any breast cancer, but inflammatory breast cancer, which is a rare and aggressive type of cancer that only affects 1 to 5% of people who are diagnosed. If you've actually seen the show Firefly Lane, that show on Netflix, that's what the main character had. Swear to you, I haven't even finished watching the season because it was just too much for me at the time. But I digress. This month, many of you will get your breasts checked out. And for some of you, unfortunately, it could mean the eventual diagnosis of breast cancer. And as much as you may be seeing pink ribbons and messages everywhere to feel your boobs, no one really talks about what happens on the other side of that conversation if you are diagnosed. No one talks about if you find that lump in your breast, or if your breasts are inexplicably swollen, or what it is like to wait for what seems like an eternity through crippling anxiety for test results, or to hear those words, yes, you have cancer. No one has talked about that until now. So starting today and over the next 5 weeks for the month of October, I will be sharing a little bit about my story and what I've had to face for what has been about the last year, from the first time I ever felt anything strange to being diagnosed, and what I've been doing post-diagnosis to fight this disease. It is my hope that by the end of October, you would have a bit more insight into what it is like to not just feed the boobs or wear pink t-shirts or get trendy, but you would truly understand that this is almost like fighting an internal war, and how you can prepare for it, what you can expect, at least some of what you can expect, because I am not out of the woods yet. It's still a current battle. So I am going to share with you what I know, what I've experienced, and how you can navigate this system a little bit more easily. So if you have to do it, you won't be lost like some of us were at the beginning. And you'll also know why pink ribbons and all the trendy stuff really doesn't resonate with me at all. Stay tuned. Let's start with the investigation and the diagnosis. If I am being honest, the first time I started feeling what could only be described as electric shocks was October of 2022. But it came so quickly and left so quickly. While it did scare me when I felt it, I didn't know what to make of it. And it came and went, so in a few days' time I forgot about it. Then the following week, it came again. So I said to myself, you know what, this feels strange. Let me call the TT Cancer Society. And that thought came into my mind because it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I figured I could get my boobs checked. There's also a history of breast cancer in my family. My mother was diagnosed some years ago. Thankfully, she's still here. And somehow it flashed in my mind, I should get checked. So I called the TT Cancer Society, but their phones were just like jammed out. I just could not get through to them at all to make an appointment for a mammogram. So I decided, let me try to get booked somewhere else. So I tried to call a hospital. I won't say who they are, but just know that they're in the West and they're close to the foreshore. And they told me that because I was not 40, I could not come to them for a mammogram without a referral letter. Now, needless to say, this was very annoying because according to their policy, I still don't qualify for a mammogram with them. But you know what? Cancer doesn't discriminate, so I'm not sure why they do. And If you check the statistics, younger and younger people are being diagnosed. But I don't want to digress too much. I called them, I couldn't get through. So after facing a few calls like that, not being able to get a mammogram without a referral, or people just not answering the phone, to be honest, I stopped following up. Then I felt this pain again, perhaps in early November. And I said, no, something has to be done. So instead of waiting some more time, I decided to book an appointment with my GYN and have her examine me. And if anything needs to happen beyond that, she can always give me a referral letter to get the mammogram. So my GYN, shout out to Dr. Siobhan Joseph of Azalea Health. Her earliest available appointment was December 9th, so I took it. So this is now almost 2 months after feeling the strange electric shock for the first time. And I decided to go to check her out and, do an annual breast and pap smear exam. This is what we have to do at this stage in life. So she checked me out and she said, well, she didn't see any cause for concern. Everything seemed fine. So I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that, you know what, maybe it's my imagination. Maybe I was freaking out for no reason. And once I got that good report, things in December started looking up. I got a new job, which I had been searching for a while. It was great. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And on the 31st of December, I celebrated a fantastic month of December. I was looking forward to 2023. I was like, this is my year. I got a new job. I could start saving towards buying a house. I could start investing in things that I want to, paying off my debt. I'm healthy. I'm feeling great. Cut to January of 2023. My right breast starts to swell and starts to become painful. And my right areola starts to flake, almost like it has gotten sunburn. So now I'm a little concerned because, I just did the breast exam and the pap smear in December, and everything came back well. I got my pap smear results in January. That too came back pretty clear. And I'm like, okay, so what is this? I'm so confused. So after living with a little bit of pain throughout the month of January, I decided to go to a GP for her to check me out, for her to give me some sense of what is going on here with this right breast, which is supposed to be, calm at the moment. So then I go to her, she examines me, and she says, well, I could see that, this is swollen, and I could tell, but I'm not sure what it is. But let me refer you to get a scan. So I said, okay. And she also gave me something for the pain, because as I said, I was living in pain. So I go, I get the scan. I managed to get the scan booked in for, let's say, early February. So I go get the scan, and the tech who is doing the scan, she runs the probe over my breasts, and she says, oh, you have really dense breasts. She said, but I'm not seeing anything here. I'm not seeing any dark areas that could indicate a lump. But you know what? You probably should get a mammogram just for a second opinion. So she says that to me while I'm there. In her report, she says, get a biopsy, but she also says check back in 6 months. So she pretty much gave me 3 things to do, right? I wasn't sure which one to do, so I said, you know what? Let me go get the mammogram. So I decided to try to call the TT Cancer Society again and get the mammogram. This time it was February. Their lines were not jammed out, so I was able to get through. And in fact, it was my mother who made the appointment for me. So when I go to them, I get the mammogram. Admittedly, the person who performed the mammogram, she said, your breast feels kind of strange. Does it always feel like this? I said, no. She said, okay, well, it doesn't have to be anything. No problem. I go, get the mammogram. Mammogram comes back clear. There's no dark areas, no spots that is cause for alarm in their mind. Okay, no problem. But at this point, I am still living in pain. So, and I'm still going to work like normal. I'm still trying to interact like normal. But my breasts are now swelling out of my bra. And they're leaving marks similar to when you wear very tight clothes. People are actually commenting on the sides of my breasts. It was all very awkward during that time, right? So I get the mammogram, it's clear. I get the scan and it's clear. But I'm still living in pain. Very strange. So carnival comes and goes. I go out with my friends. I come back. I try to book to see the GYN. I eventually was able to get an appointment with her closer to the end of March, I would say. So this now we are in month 5, October, November, December, January, February, March. We're in month 5 post first feeling the electric shock. So when we do that, finally get onto the GYN, I take all of my pictures from the scans, and I took my report that said I had nothing, and I took that back to my GYN, took it back to Dr. Joseph, and immediately upon looking at the images from the scan, she says, you have some inflammation. I can see that your breasts are inflamed. I'm not sure what the cause is. Maybe it's cyst, maybe it's something else, but I would like you to go to a breast specialist for them to check these scans out, and perhaps if it's cyst, they can aspirate it for you and remove it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then she sends me around to what I now believe to be one of the best breast care clinics in Trinidad and Tobago, the Pink Hibiscus. And I have to say my experience there was really good. Dr. Rampol, excellent. Nurse Harry, excellent. So I go to the Pink Hibiscus. I book an appointment to see the doctor, showing them my referral letter, telling them what my problem is. And so they booked me in for the following week. So now we are at about the early parts of March. It was a Tuesday, so I went to see them. So I went to see them, and I had to get yet another scan. But this time, what was different about the scan, it was that the tech who was performing the scan wasn't speaking to me at all. He was very quiet, and I just kept hearing these clicking songs, which I now know was him basically mapping out the mass in my breast. He was mapping out the area. So the tech does the scan, and then he leaves the room. Then Dr. Rampol, who is breast specialist, comes into the room, and this is what he says to me. He says, I saw your scans, and to be honest, I can't be sure what I'm looking at. So immediately I am now confused, because I thought it was just cysts. You could just aspirate them, right? And then I said, it's not cysts. Then he says, no, it's definitely not cysts. I'm not sure what it is, but this is serious. So his tone changed, and the way he delivered the message changed. So immediately I'm like really concerned now, right? I'm really concerned. So then he says, in order for me to understand what this is, you are going to have to take an MRI, a breast MRI. Now, if you have never had experience with an MRI, this is a pretty involved procedure where they scan deeply into your body to see what is going on. You have to go inside of a machine. It's very noisy. So I said, okay. And then he says, you have to get this MRI, because even if I was to do a biopsy on you, I wouldn't be sure where to put my needle, because I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I need a deeper look. So I said, okay. And then he says, while I'm not sure what this is, I think it's one of two possible conditions. And I see him writing on a piece of paper, and then he hands the piece of paper to me. And on that piece of paper, he identified two conditions, one of which was inflammatory breast cancer. And that was the moment the room stopped and all the breath exited my lungs. So by the time I got home after that appointment, my anxiety was doing numbers through the roof. When I examined myself, it was as though my breasts had swollen by another 50%. And I was literally seeing, even though I was seeing these changes before, these changes suddenly became very, very obvious to me. The swelling, the flaking, almost like my skin was cracking, because the swelling had become so much. And I started to ask myself, how did you not think about this before? But, who wants to put themselves on a path to actually think about cancer? Who wants to think about that? Especially when you've been getting scans that have been clear and mammograms that have been clear. And the truth is, mammograms don't always pick up cancer. They don't, and I think that's something that people really must know. A mammogram can't fool you, and the only true way to know is through a biopsy. So let's get back to the story now. So now I have to book in with the MRI Center of Trinidad and Tobago to get the MRI done. And this is where, the money starts to be spent. Now, what I didn't tell you is just before this particular appointment with Dr. Rampol at the Pink Hibiscus, I suddenly lost my job. That job that I was celebrating back in December, it was suddenly taken away from me in less than ideal circumstances. So now I'm facing a possible diagnosis of a chronic disease, deadly chronic disease. My source of income has been snuffed out. I am currently living with pain every day. So talk about 2023 being my year, right? When I think back on December 31st, I just have to laugh and shake my head. Because sometimes we have plans, but other things are afoot. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So now it's time for me to go get the MRI at the MRI Center of Trinidad and Tobago. So I go there, and of course the cost of an MRI is expensive. But thankfully I did have some insurance, so that was able to help. So I go get the MRI, and I go through the process, and 2 days later the results come back. And I have to say, undoubtedly, this is probably one of the most difficult parts of it, because now I have to sit through and look at this video of the scan of my body and see all of the areas that have been lit up in white in my body from the contrast dye, right? And I'm seeing my entire right breast, I'm seeing my armpits, I'm seeing in my chest, and I'm seeing these areas lit up. Now, having had some experience before this one, because my mother was diagnosed, when I saw the areas in my armpits, immediately I knew what it was. But of course, as a doctor, Dr. Rampol couldn't just say, well, this is what it is. And doctors work with evidence, and doctors work with proof and the science-backed procedures. So as much as I saw it and I thought that that's what it was, Dr. Rampol took me in. I performed a biopsy the next day, and by the following week, which was on May 4th, I was diagnosed with cancer. So we are talking about a long haul time of October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. We are talking about 7 months of feeling strange pains, investigations, and it's something that we have to understand, that sometimes cancer takes a while to be diagnosed, particularly when you are going back and forth getting scans and people are telling you, well, there's nothing to worry about, there's no obvious sign. So cancer is so different for everybody. I know a lot of times, again, you'd be hearing messages of feel your boobs during this time. But what if you feel your boobs and it's not a lump? It's something completely different. What if they scan you and they see nothing, right? So it's so important for us to advocate for ourselves, and it's so important for us to keep investigating, because I kept going back. I went to all manner of doctors. And I'd say for sure my biggest lesson during this time is having to go to multiple places wasted a lot of time, which is why I'm glad that the Pink Hibiscus is around. And no, they are not paying me to say this. No, they are not giving me any money. I am just telling you that this is a place, if you want to save time and get everything done in one spot, go to them. They're in Woodbrook. They are, I personally find, one of the best private centers for breast health care. So on May 4th, I was diagnosed of 2023 after 7 months of feeling and another few months of investigation. And my next step would be stepping into treatment. So in my next video, I will tell you about what treatment looks like on the other side of a diagnosis, particularly if you are a younger woman who's of reproductive age. Ladies, trust me, there's a lot of sacrifice inside of this. This is a war you're fighting. And again, I say there's nothing pink, trendy, or ribbon-filled about this. This is literal war. So I want to tell you how I prepared for war and how you can prepare for it too if you have to face it.